Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 443, and today we're doing battle with Teemo Yuumi. And so this will probably be our last video of the Heart of the Huntress standard format, and this is the rising star of that Heart of the Huntress standard format right as the variety patch and Eternal season are about to come upon us. But if you're looking to climb up to Masters over the course of the next few days, or if you're looking to rank up a little bit in standard, this is most certainly a deck that should be on your radar as something that you could use to level up quickly, or also something that you're probably going to have to play against quite a bit in the upcoming days. And so, at a glance, at its core, this looks like the kind of Drissoth style Elusives decks that we saw pop up maybe 2 months or so ago, in the sense that it has all of these elusive units in it, but they're getting all of their value out of the hand buff cards. And so you were using Celestial Blessings and Purifying Flames, along with a little bit of Esmuth to get the stats on your elusives. And so it wasn't a kind of classical Greenglade duo based blast them right from the start with these elusive style deck, but more so kind of a mid-rangey style of deck to where on turn 4 or turn 5 you start dropping 4 and 5 power elusives on the board and then closing out the game from 2 attacks from there. But to me, the reason this is worth bringing forth is some of the kind of new technology that we're starting to see in this deck, and something that I think is kind of interesting as we do approach the Eternal season, and that's going to be the usage of Yuumi. And so Yuumi, in the past, really only saw play in Pantheon decks. And so you're playing Pantheon, you were all in on the Fated theme, you didn't really need any of the other champions. And Yuumi was just a way to kind of come in and grow your Pantheon while activating a Fated. It wasn't really any of the kind of build around tools that we used with her. But with the access to things like the Celestial Blessing and the Purifying Flames, if we turn Yuumi into a 5/5, then we can come out and reuse those stats like we get to do with the Forge decks running around. And so in days of old, if you just played your, all of your spells, you loaded up your singular elusive unit, and your opponent says, oops, I have a vengeance, then you were down quite a bit of cards and quite a bit of stats. But with Yuumi being kind of a permanent fixture of your deck with the attachment ability, she can come down, give a unit +5/+5. Your opponent plays Vengeance, and then you don't lose out on all of those stats. You just have to replay Yuumi a little bit later. And so, she's definitely the new addition to this style of deck. There's been some other Yuumi decks running around in Standard, and I think that's where she really started to pick up in terms of what we're doing here. But she is the new and exciting thing. The last thing to call out with this deck is the usage of Sump Monument. This is a way to just basically beat any damage-based deck. And so if you're in some kind of race situation, if you're out there playing against Kennen Jinx and you're not interacting with each other and just dealing a bunch of damage to the face, you do have the option to just say, oops, here's a Sump Monument, I guess I win the game. It's a very fun, very interactive style of card. Last thing to call out, over to the right, there is a lot of variety in terms of spells that you can play. There's a lot of combat tricks coming out of PNZ, and there's only so much space, the things you can fit in here. It's pretty common to just see the Targonian Tellstones, the Celestial Blessing, and the Purifying Flames across the board. The 3 copies of Mystic Shot is pretty standard as well, but the remaining spells are where you're going to see a bit of variety. Here we're playing the Expanse's Protection. This is oftentimes just cheaper than Bastion. You play Bastion because you want the spell shield. You get the same spell shield out of the Expanse's Protection, but you can sometimes play this a little bit cheaper if we've managed to get a Darkened Lodestone on the board, so I'm okay with that. We also have the Mikhail's Blessing in here. This is going to be kind of dependent on the amount of Frostbites running around, and so if you're expecting a lot of Jack's Orn running about and them shutting down your big attacks with the Frostbite, then the Mikhail's Blessing can come in and remove those negative keywords. Can also be useful in terms of silences and quicksands, but your unit has typically been blocked at that point, so it doesn't get as much of a bonus, but removing some of those negative effects can be quite good. And then we're just playing a single copy of Pale Cascade as our last kind of utility combat trick here, if you will. But you do see a lot of things like Shield Vault. You'll see things like the +1/+2 card to 2 separate units. There's just a ton of tricks that you can play within here. Some may feel right, some may feel wrong, but I'm pretty happy with this collection of cards. I definitely did not like playing Blowback in this deck. It just never felt particularly useful. It was just too expensive, and you had to discard too many real cards. And so that's the deck. That's what we're doing battle with today. I forgot to check. I forgot to see if we were all paid up on the pay to win with this deck. I think we probably have to boost up Mikhail's Blessing, but I wanted to see if any of these units were in here. Oh, Celestial Blessing gets a boost. Okay. Okay, this is one we might actually play a little bit more of in the future, and so you gotta take that value where you can get it. So all right, let's get the cats into battle. But yeah, like seeing this deck, it got me immediately interested in the upcoming Eternal season. We had so much success in the previous season, taking the Forge theme kind of across the board. And, you know, as new cards get printed and you kind of go back and revisit some of the older themes of the day, I feel like Attach didn't really get too much time in the sun. It was like the Attach mechanic came out and then immediately got outclassed by the improvise and the weapons. And so outside of just, there was a bit of time to where Papercraft Dragon was all the rage, but that didn't really take advantage of the Attach mechanic. And then units like Rainbow Fish have made some kind of fringe play with Tristana and the like, but no like real attachment style build around kind of decks have made their mark on the format. Curious if that changes in the upcoming time. But reasonable enough start here. This is another place to where we can get a bit of that attached value. We're gonna have the Chime landing in our deck. We got a 1 in 3 chance as it is for it to land on Yuumi. You just get the shot to use that stat line over and over again if it lands where you want. Hey, it hit the cat. No complaints there. So we should be able to like pop off kind of big here. I definitely want to get Esmith on board this turn. As it stands, excuse me, probably just want to hang on to the mana in terms of this Pale Cascade, though. He's bringing in the Mystic Shot we can protect now. Everything landing on Yuumi. So unfortunately, no spells in hand to take advantage of these acorns, but let's see what turns up. Teemo turns up. All right, well, let's get him on board. And so it's a touch awkward here, right? We don't really want to load up our best unit with the Yuumi and just have all the stats invested in one place, but at least as far as this turn goes, we should be fairly safe in the sense that opponent only had 4 mana. So as it goes, I'm going to load up the Yuumi onto the Esmith. This is our, you know, unfortunately it is kind of our highest value unit we have on the board right now, since it's gets to, you know, kind of deliver these continual amounts of stats, but the 4-5 stat lines should still be pretty good here. Can't get a good hook in with Jayce. The thing that's unfortunate for her is she's in the space now to where she can get Hex Obliterated. Hex Obliterator works on attachments and not just equipment, and so it can be a bit of a bummer to lose out on that one. Just got to make it that one turn, right? He hasn't played any Reggies, so I feel kind of safe. This deck, so it plays between like 0 and 2 Hex Obliterators, so I don't think we have to immediately worry about it. Oh my god, it's coming in, isn't it? Okay, Piercing Darkness is fine. Turns out not quite enough to even take Esmith off the board. Wonder if that was intentional or not. No. We'll find out. We'll find out. So maybe you should have played one of these units on the previous turn. I got so bamboozled by our Esmith not actually dying that I kind of skipped over the play there, but we'll see how this turn plays itself out. This is going to be a very easy Blessing of Targon to protect our Esmith. Get tons of damage rolling through after this.
Firing.
And the triple acorns. Why didn't Acorn have a subtype? They didn't add Squirrel into the mix. You wouldn't find his name on any of the blueprints or credited in any of the songs. But those in the know agreed. Acorn was the heart of the whole operation. I knew it. I agree. I hear you. Alright, well, very close to lethal, and we should be able to just drop Sump Monument next turn. I don't see too many angles to where the opponent would be able to just kind of come in and kill us, but whatever that would look like, the Sump Monument should be able to stop it. It's like, I guess a production surge would be the kind of scariest thing that he could do here, putting like rando elusives on the board or something, but we already have the ways to stop elusives. I don't know. It seems like this should be pretty tough for the opponent here.
Sure beats the smell of burning workshops.
All right, we'll add in the Sump Monument. Once the Donger came in, there isn't a ton of reason to really add it, right? He's never going to be killing us this turn, but something that could potentially happen is him, say, like, getting the kill onto Esmuth. And so if we let Esmuth just die, then we can replay the Yuumi somewhere else. It's not super ideal in the sense that once this is going to be the third attack coming out of Yuumi, so she's going to catch the spell shield on this next attack anyways. But okay, Jayce is going to come in and do the dirty work then. At least we have the mana to replay her. He's tapped out now though, so we don't have to worry about our Yuumi unit going down.
I'm ready to play, bop, and knock over some cups.
Alright, combat time. Should be in pretty good shape here. We have the spell shield to protect something. He needs to stop both acorns as it is, and then we picked up the combat trick to guarantee lethal through any of the units. That's good. Not a bad start. Get in there with the cat, game one. They need more cats in the game. It's been one of their biggest mistakes. It's unfortunate as you see like the dev chat come out and they're like, yeah, we just don't really have the time or the money to put out more little legends or to put out more boards. And it's like, you just gotta make more cat ones. Somebody didn't get the memo on that. You just gotta make the cat little legends and they'll sell themselves. All right, so up against Teemo here, the Bandle City version of this is going, or the PNZ version of Teemo is going to be the Sump Monument deck, and so not too much to worry about in that sense. The thing that I see when the Teemo turns up is I'd really like to have a blocker for Teemo in the early parts of the game, right? We don't have a bunch of burn spells to be able to remove that Teemo, and if you're able to kind of come in and keep him from hitting, then you get a lot of time in terms of the Sump Monument, and so I would have been relatively happy if we had some kind of blocker. So Daring Poro turned up just in time, but we're not going to be using him just yet. Purifying Flame sounds good. Let's load up Teemo and the Poro. We can get both of these on board this turn. Got to start dealing that damage. Teemo mirror match. It's wild the amount of decks that Teemo has found himself in between the actual Puffcap stack now, but being put into, say, Tristana decks as a multi-faction unit, being put into decks like Elusives to just have the unblockable style unit. It's kind of crazy that he's gotten so much utility after he was just so worthless for like 2 years. It just... Nobody playing Puffcap decks. There was, I guess, a little bit of time to where, like Teemo Sejuani was a deck, but I mean, it wasn't a real deck, if you ask me. So, is what it is. Oh, and he goes for the Sump Monument, as we already have Teemo on board. Very good chance we can get this Teemo to flip going into the next turn, as long as we don't let him die. And so, with only 2 points of mana here. Shouldn't have, or 2 points of mana from the opponent, we shouldn't have to worry about our Teemo getting killed, but I do want to keep a little bit of mana back in case we need to play a spell for him. Yeah, he just can't do anything, right? He's only got 2 mana. What's he gonna do? Mystic Shot something? The thing that would be, you know, kind of unfortunate for next turn would be a wallop, right? You can't Mikhail's Blessing off the stun in the middle of combat, and so that's not quite there.
Whatever the cost.
So if the Shadestalker hits, that's gonna be 8. Right?
For truth.
So now if it hits on its own, it's going to put 12 in. Teemo just needs to have 10 go in. That's how you load up all the puff caps on them, right? you just double through their own monument.
Success is planting your mushroom crop. There's enough for everyone.
All right, there's enough for everybody. Got them up to 104. That's pretty good. Hopefully, is the it's gonna take us a few more rounds of combat, but we're very close to the lethal right there. Go ahead and add in the clock link. Found some good interactivity and feel pretty decent about this now. Nice little 2-piece nugget. Alright, he's gonna start popping off. He doesn't get Karina until next turn, and so that's still gotta be something to worry about, right? You don't have you don't quite have the tools to counter a lot of this. Karina and the Achiever next turn might be enough to actually kill us. It's too bad Hush is just for this round. We could look to I think this is where we want to go. We're going to target Telstones into Behold the Infinite. And then I want to see if we can't find a Silence. It didn't turn up. It's a little unfortunate. But the Warrior can be useful here. It gives us a chance to take this Ava Achiever off of the board before he's able to play Karina. So I think I feel pretty safe with that. Just we can't let him be getting like double damage whenever a Karina hits the board. He doesn't have too many puff caps in here. We're basically at like 1 per card, but you know it doesn't take too much for that to ramp up into being like 15-20 damage in 1 hit. We're doing that one.
Whatever the cost.
Now let's just boost everybody. We'll kind of boost our units across the board. Teemo at the very end, and so we gotta survive that Karina. Then we should be okay. Like when we take him up to, I don't know, whatever this will be, like 800 puff caps, we should be fine. What'd we get him up to? 316.
This will be my magnum opus.
Look at that. Hit for 7. We would have barely survived it, but then we would also have to survive the next turn. Alright. Looky there. Looky there. Well done, Bust. Getting those. It's so wild, the stuff you can do with the Targonian Telstones. It was just far and away the worst Telstone for the longest time, and then they've just really gone in and put the work on it. I don't remember what the initial cards were on it, but it was like Wish and something else garbagey. And so maybe it was always just like Wish and then the +3/+3, but the +3/+3 got dropped in cost by 1, and then the Telstones itself got dropped in cost by 1, and so it did quite a bit of work in terms of just the cost effectiveness of that. But alrighty, into the mirror match, a little Teemo Yuumi from the opponent. We can like build up into Purifying Flames, but I mean, if he's not going to do anything here, kind of feel okay just dropping Esmuth. Like, we'll be in a spot to where we still have 2 units in our hand that we can Purifying Flames, but we'll get to start getting a little bit further ahead with, you know, this mana reduction and then the extra stats from Esmuth. Right? Don't get in your head that we're playing some kind of really aggressively styled game here. It's not the case. It's going to be much more of a mid-rangey kind of battle. And so, like, it feels like, you know, we're doing really good aggressive things here in the early game, but the thing I'm excited with this is the amount of just the amount of stats that we're building up that the opponent doesn't have. Alright, so let's put I guess just put the big ones onto Yuumi, the little ones onto Teemo.
I'm ready to play, bop, and knock over some cups.
Alright, I'm ready to block. Or play bop and knock over some cups, whatever it is Yumi's out here saying. So Teemo's kind of relevant, but I worry about opponent making a similar play to where they Purifying Flames and then just have a million stats to put on the board. It's easy for Teemo to be too small here. So let's just get in while the getting's good. We should at least be getting, you know, some kind of trade, and then if he blocks our Acorn, we have the Celestial Blessing to help boost. Currently winning this combat. Well, he'll win the combat with the Celestial Blessing, I should say. So many Mystic shots. Curious what he's been clocking into. Teemo is not too strong of a draw here, though. A bit of a bummer. Right, there's the Purifying Flames. This Teemo is not large. So no reason to take the other Yuumi. We could just go for the value angle here and take the second Clockling. I think that's okay. His attacks suck, so that's that's at least a bit of a perk.
Armed and ready.
Right, winning all these combats. It's like, is this gonna be Mystic Shot number 3 coming in? Opponent sees those spells start to come in and says no thank you. Alright, not bad. GG.
We did it together.
It's kind of a nice spot to be in, right? When you've got your Yuumi grown and on board faster than the opponent. We're just able to get so many more stats than they were, right? Esmuth gave out 3+3+3s. Yuumi gave out on her own. I think she was at +3/+3, in addition to where if something went wrong with our Esmuth, we would just get the Yuumi back. Opponent was out there doing stuff with Mystic Shots and the like, just not where you really want to be. It's all about getting the maximum stats in the mirror. Alright, onto this dumb deck. Always feel free to throw a little salt about whenever you have to come in and battle against Nasus. But with this start, it's kind of tough. Like, you can on turn 3 do the Shadestalker Purifying Flames, but it just sucks to have that be like our start. Like with the way that this hand is going to go, if he just has like a single Vengeance, it can really just shut us down. Hang on to this Teemo. I like the idea of how cheap he is. Now we can come in and get a strike. But if we want to do if we want to turn 3 do the Shadestalker Purifying Flames, then we can't play Teemo. But I'm curious in the sense that if we can kind of bait out a removal. Like the Teemo, it strikes me as a card where you can be like, yeah, whatever, you know? Like, you can look at this and say, okay, he's not a Teemo build around deck. I'm not super worried about what Teemo is going to do this game. But if we get him to invest a couple of points of mana, I feel a little bit better about it. Maybe that was the thing. Like, we should have known that on this turn he can't play Vengeance. Right, because he played his Bakai on the first turn, and that would have just kind of guaranteed us a big hit to come through. Yeah, I'm not super excited with how we've done this game. Teemo is getting legitimately scary though. Like, I don't care if he plays Darkness. He doesn't have the he doesn't have the big draw this game to where he's getting the vaults on turn 3. And so yeah, we got a chance to shine here. Definitely don't want to let him get any slays. Let's see if the Darkness comes in. Okay. So another turn where he's not going to be able to Vengeance, right? He's only going to have 5 mana next turn. Don't have to worry about it a ton here. I definitely want to get Yuumi on board, and then we can follow up with the Shadestalker. Just kind of spread out the stats a little bit.
Mother Moon, veil me.
But see, this is a very kind of shining example of how this deck typically deals its damage. You know, it's very easy to say like, oh, I'm playing Elusives. I'm out here playing some kind of very aggro-y kind of deck. It's much more mid-rangey in the way these games typically play out, right? We'll blast here for 11, and the next turn try to blast for 11 again. It's not that kind of classic-y, super fast. I believe Bang Bros is the name of the deck that they so graciously bestowed upon, say, like Poppy Zed. Oh, look at that, 2 puff caps coming in. Teemo doing a little bit of extra work.
We stand in the footprints of paths long
Tiny
trodden.
Nasus. Okay. Let's put the bonus onto Esma, so well, he still dies to Quietus, right? I worry about Esmith getting hit with Quietus.
Unseen, unheard.
There it is. It was only going to get up to 4 stats. No way to dodge it there. Gonna attack Nasus into our Clockling. turns out Yuumi and the cats are a little bit bigger than the dog today. Womp womp. You can't risk it. I mean, that's tough, I guess. Like, Nasus is gonna die and chain into the Rekindler and he'll come back, but he's gotta win this game somehow, right? So the only way that these kind of things would go poorly is if he has, like hate spikes for next turn, but we're just going to kill off his entire board here. Like, this is a very like freak out kind of attack, right? You know, like, oh shit, I'm about to lose the game and I don't have anything to do, so I need to make an attack and maybe my opponent will do something weird. That's exactly how that attack reads.
For truth.
GG. On to the next one. That matchup can be a little bit more challenging than that game looked. opponent had kind of an awkward draw in the space that we were running there. But as you run into the deck that's like 60% removal spells, it just like one misstep can really crush your day. But I don't like how we really approached that one and didn't kind of read into how the vengeances were going to fall, right? So that was a little sloppy. I think it would have been a fine space to lead off with Acorn, because Acorn will drop the cost of the Purifying Flames, and then we still would have been able to play all of the cards on turn 3. But starting off with Teemo doesn't feel quite right. All right, well, not amped about anything with this hand. Let's just go ahead and get rid of everything. The units are all too expensive. We don't have any of the good boosty stuff. Just move on to the next step. I do keep eyeballing that... I keep eyeballing that Targonian, the Darkened Lodestone, knowing that Arazi can be quite powerful in these matches, boosting a unit and giving it spell shield, but the hands hadn't quite come together to where we want to start with the Lodestone. I was going to say, I think we're going to find ourselves in kind of a similar space here. If he kind of like leads off with the Bakai, then we'll probably just bank into the Purifying Flames. But if he's going to pass on the first turn, I think we're much more inclined to just develop board and try and move towards the Lodestone.
Nobody's pulling Norterra while I'm around.
So let's put the last remaining stats down here on the Winged Messenger. Next turn, we're going to have 4 mana. We'll play the Winged Messenger and Daring Poro. Then we'll have a 2 bank that we can use to play a Lodestone. But I want to get the maximum stats on board this turn with the Shadestalker. Keep him from attacking.
Good morning.
Maybe we won't keep him from attacking. Interesting. Why do you ever do this? Is Glimpse from Beyond even still in the game? Like that's a spot that makes sense if you're like planning on Glimpse Beyonding away your unit, but you can like say, okay, well, I'll just attack and then I'll glimpse away the one that he's gonna just block. Very odd to see that attack just roll through. Alright, well, he doesn't currently have the Mana to Darkness, but we're not gonna want to put the Lodestone onto the Daring Poro since it's just gonna die. Oh shit, we don't have the mana? Where'd we spend our mana last turn? Oh, we played the Shadestalker. I completely thought we were coming into this turn with an extra 2 mana. Oops. I think I'm still happy with how that paced out, but I definitely thought we were gonna have a little bit more. Whoops. Little whoops. We'll give him a target for this darkness. I don't particularly care if it gets to come in and get a takedown. Shadestalker is still safe.
Mother Moon Veigar.
This cursed life is now my burning.
Oh, I saw the Bakai and I was waiting on the strike to come through and it just never did. So how do we want to go about this? Like the darkness is getting big. I just assumed it was at 2 damage at this point, and it's a little bit more, but it's not. It's not there. I think we're safe to still add Esmuth. Like the downside to playing Esmuth is it gives him a little bit of time to start just dropping more removals on our unit, but he can darkness literally anything he wants here, and we just don't care. And then that drops him below Vengeance mana, and so it's like we do have to worry a little bit about a Quicksand coming in. But outside of Quicksand, I think we're completely safe. Interesting.
Whatever the cost.
gonna be losing some good units here. Little whoopsies onto the winged messenger. And with empowered, you can't silence away that style of ability. You have to. It's what you would call like a static ability in Magic. I'm not quite certain if there's a term for it here, but it's like the empowered thing keeps checking itself over and over again. All right. Victory achieved. GG. I think we were still going to be okay there either way. Right? If the quicksand worked how we wanted it to, we would have taken down his biggest unit with the blessing, and then we would have been able to get a little bit of chip damage in, and then get Harazi on board. And so it's not like he's adding a ton of value. He didn't have the vaults on board to really chain up. And so it's like, I don't care about the Rekindler. I don't care about Nasus coming in, and he doesn't have a vaults. And if he wants to get a vaults, he can't really play any other cards. So I think we were going to be in good shape either way. All right. Up against Kennen Jinx. Ooh, and we get to start with a Sump Monument. Don't mind if I do. Now, I don't want to get like overly crazy with this start. You know, we do need to kind of come down and interact a little bit, but I definitely feel better about it. I was hoping we would find another unit. Like, we want to get the Purifying Flames down. We're going to be kind of control decking the guy here a little bit, in the sense that I would like to threaten some blocks against all of his 2/1s. So we wanted kind of another card to use with the Purifying Flames. And so the kind of thought for me here is we'll add in Acorn. I do want to shrink the cost of the Purifying Flames. This is just kind of a freebie. But then after that, I do want to get some blockers down in front of this stuff. Alright, well, I thought we were gonna have to just slam the monument here. I was more than happy to do so, but if we're gonna keep continuing to play things this slow, I'm fine with that. So on the next turn, we'll only have 4 mana, so let's do this. Let's add the Purifying Flames. We'll play the Shadestalker now, and then next turn we'll add in Teemo and the Sump Monument, and it should be pretty close to just ending the game. should be pretty close.
Prepared for anything.
Sure.
Whatever the cost.
I guess we maybe should have played the Sump Monument first. I don't know. It's kind of okay to take this initial shot. Like, the thing I'm initially thinking in my head is like, well, it feels kind of good to just be taking. Like, I was hoping that it was going to be like Mystic Shot style cards coming after our unit, and not things like Blowback that get the damage in both directions. But it's fine. I think we're in good shape. Squeaker. He's not capable of playing any of the Mecha Yordles this turn. All right, feeling pretty safe though.
Wind and thunder.
So do we want to just go ahead and give up on the Daring Poro? I mean, like, in terms of puff caps, we're just super safe for the rest of the game.
Must we fight?
It's like we don't really have to risk it in this space. Let's just leave the Daring Poro back. Take the single block where we can get it. I probably should have blocked the squeaker. That seems like it would have been a little bit safer in hindsight. Not a particularly good Purifying Flames.
Got this from a side quest.
Forgive me.
Alright, we're pretty close to the lethal. Our puff cap situation's looking pretty good, taking about a damage a turn through the monument. Should hopefully be okay. Probably just come in and prevent whatever we can. I don't think he'd be able to handle this Poro next turn, and so you don't have to worry about it too much.
Hide no longer.
Just take the blocks wherever we can get our units in. Move into the next round. What do we got in here? About 2 damage. About 2 damage worth of puff caps for this next turn. We're gonna have to worry about this though. These clocklings are gonna be fairly annoying. A good chance that he gets to block 2 units and then like Mystic Shot another one. We're definitely short of lethal if that's gonna be the case. Esmith was a great draw. Let's get everybody on board. Just need one of these units to hit, right? Just need one. Oh, that's annoying. I was curious if that lightning rush was ever going to come to matter with the stats messing around on our acorn.
I am lightning. I break the wind.
Oh, hang on. Acorn's got the stat thing on him as well. Alright, let's see. Definitely no guarantees in getting the takedown here. He's got a removal spell for the daring, then gonna be hurting. Gotta squeeze those cheeks for a long time. Ugh. Oh my god. Okay. Brutal. Trying to go back to that turn where we blocked poorly on the squeaker. It turned out to be quite relevant. Alright, we'll play in one lodestone. I don't think we'll have the time to end up playing a second one. Like, we'll either just add Harazi or something else. Oh, take one? Okay. Are we having fun with this yet? Somebody's having fun, I'm sure.
Nothing like the great outdoors.
The blowback onto the daring. What are we at? About 3 damage a turn. We're gonna have to squeeze it pretty tight. gotta squeeze it pretty tight. Yeah, we can't even take down this Shadow Tech Walker, so he's still gonna have blockers next turn. This is insane. I guess we can block like this, so he'll only have 1 unit. We still have an Elusive that's going to get blocked by the Shadow Tech Walker, but
A Vandal Scout learns by doing.
I think we have to keep the Teemo in. gonna be brutal. Well, let's see if we're having fun here yet. We got we got about 4 damage a turn of puff caps in the deck. Just gotta fade this one turn, right? Nope, we took 7. Okay, that was brutal. Yeah, I think it all came down to that one bad block that we made, and then that kind of cascaded into more damage down the road. I mean, the other angle is you could just never block with the elusives, but ooh, that's tough. GG. Alright, next battle though. Let's hang on to this acorn, try and find some more interactive units up against Nidalee, the the other Yuumi deck, if you will. Very reasonable start. Yeah, that's wild though. I feel like we should just literally never lose that game where we have the Sump monuments that early. It's so painful to have it come down like that. Alright, well we can just keep letting him do his thing here. No reason to get super fast on the board. I'm looking with this. I want to Celestial Blessing the Acorn and the Winged Messenger. And then we can look to Purifying Flames onto the Yuumi a little bit later. I would suspect with his attack on the previous turn that this is probably just an all-terrain trooper. So not really worth making a big investment in. Was Nidalee. So, I mean, do we ever really feel comfortable putting a 5/6 dude in front of Nidalee? I mean, not really. We'll probably never block. I still want to put the unit down so he has to at least give a little pause to the matter, but I don't think that we're ever legitimately making this block.
Threaten my pack, die by my claws.
Dude. Going big on these bros. So we'll just take the 3 from the terrain trooper. He's gonna pick up the Nidalee spear, and I don't really want to get our Shade Stalker killed by the spear this turn. So we'll let this just happen, and then we'll look to probably just attach Yuumi onto this guy.
Too late to run.
Scary day. Feels like we should just have so much more mana at this point. It's like I don't know where all the mana has gone.
Forgive me.
I think this is okay. Like, if he really wants to deal with this Shade Stalker this turn, he has to have Quicksand and he has to have Ambush, which it's not completely unreasonable to think, but I think the thing that happens much more often is he just quicksands the Shade Stalker and blocks up the all-terrain trooper. Interesting. If it's going like that, I would just assume that he just doesn't have the quicksand. We'll have to see how this plays out. Always scary seeing these many dudes come on the board. Yeah, they're all gonna flip into Nidalee's, right? Is that how the ordering of this is gonna go? No, we should be safe, right? He's gonna have to flip the shadows first.
Fear not death.
Okay, let's see how this goes. I mean, we have silences in our hand if we really need to
This one will
to
be
get crazy in front of some of this stuff. Oh shit, it's the big one. Oh, it's just an Avenging Vistaya. Well, it's just an Avenging Vistaya, but we don't have the means to stop her. Okay, GG. Tough. It was a wild set of cards coming through I wasn't quite expecting. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be the Avenging Vistaya there, but maybe we should have done something a little preemptively. Maybe we should have just silenced one of those changelings at the beginning of combat, because we just need to get to the next turn, right? We have Yuumi in hand, and if we just get to put Yuumi onto a different unit, then I think we're pretty safe in that space. I don't like how we did that. I feel like I need a lot more experience in that match. It's one of those decks that I haven't seen enough of. I haven't seen enough of it running around to feel super comfortable. It felt like, to me, it was that kind of meme deck that you always see right before a seasonal style of event comes forth. And I wasn't a big believer in the Nidalee deck. It's one of those things to where you'll see like Ichiran Raymond playing decks like that. I think he was the one that really kind of led the charge in terms of led the charge in terms of that deck gaining popularity, and he's one of those players who's just better than everybody else, right? He was a Worlds competitor, and so being in that kind of space to where he's just better than everyone, it makes it kind of tough to evaluate whether or not that's actually a real deck or not. And I was just always leaning towards not, and not thinking it's a real one, but we'll see. There's been some other high-profile players take it up into the top 10 of the meta, so maybe it's got a little more juice to it than I give it credit. All right, we got to get some kind of blocker on board here, though. We're just going to get overran. Seeing the Reborn Grenadier come down is a little on the scarier side of things. It's weird, like this is not what I was really expecting out of Norra Sion. Maybe it's just like one copy of Sion in here. It's like you see the Bandle City along with Noxus. You kind of feel like it's most certainly going to be some kind of discardy strategy running at you, but I'm not certain what Nora's in here for. It's like it's so tough to tell whether or not you're going to be up against whether or not you're going to be up against a like disintegrate based deck, or if it's going to be more aggressively oriented like this one is. This is just awkward. We have to spend the mana to protect this Poro. We can't just have it die to the pastry. So I think we'll bring in the Lodestone, but this hand is just super awkward in terms of getting stats on the board. Maybe we're still okay here, especially if he wants to, say, invest some mana in trying to burn down the Daring Poro. The Bouncer and Bolt's much more problematic, but maybe we're okay. Okay, Cascade here to save the day. I wonder if he opens. He doesn't, but it seems like an interesting space for an open. And now another interesting spot. I mean, I don't think we can take the Tellstones. It's like I think the Tellstones is very in tune with this one singular current combat, but it's not going to be good for the rest of the game. I'm kind of okay with just going wider with Teemo here. It's like I worry about putting a Yuumi on something and then opponent just getting completely wider than us.
Reporting in.
Report in, Teemo.
So shiny, it's gotta be
terrible. Just giving a Teemo for the squeaker. We're gonna lose out on the daring poro. Nothing we can do about that. Okay. And he kept his Shadow Tech Walker at home ready to block. I mean, it feels like it's okay. We got reasonably far along here in the sense that he's invested very heavily in this stuff on the board and doesn't have a ton to show for it. We don't have to worry about getting OTK'd next turn or something. So weird. See, again, like you're doing all this, you know, closer to aggressive style stuff, I guess we should say. It's much more what you would see out of like the Jinx Kennen kind of early game squeaker aggressive stuff, but then with the Norras and the Portal Paloozas, it's not entirely certain what to read into it. But here, this is fine. We'll hang on to the Pale Cascade for a future turn. Like, no reason to just cycle or punch in that point of damage right now. And then we can add in Harazi at this point. Miss out on the card draw, but if he really wants to take this augmented Clockling down, it's just going to take a lot more cards. So that's fine. Just the bummer here is the Shadow Tech Walker is just a little bit bigger than Teemo, so he doesn't have a lot of opportunity for greatness here. God, what are we running into? Both of the portals just stop.
Hairy and sneaky. I like it.
So I bet he's gonna pastry here. Just not a ton we can do about it. We'll protect it, and then we just need to be boosting. That's fine. We just need to be boosting off of the Harazi on this next attack. Alright, not bad. And if you're not familiar with the way Harazi works, you get to keep the stats, right? So the Daring Poro stays 7-7, lost a couple points of health, whatever, but the keywords only last until the end of the round. So now we'll get the opportunity to maybe attack again and then boost up the Winged Messenger and get it up to Elusive.
Come on, boys.
Let's see. We got a couple of decent blocks in here. He's still got this Perilous Pastry in hand, right? So we could potentially lose something. I don't think I'm too worried about losing a post-combat Teemo. We just need to keep the Harazi around if we can. This will drop us to 3. I mean, I guess we can technically, like, make this block with Harazi, given that it has Spell Shield, right? So the pastry's not going to come in on the Spell Shield, but I think I like having the Spell Shield to deliver to the other Elusive unit next turn. And so he just has literal no way to actually deal with it. I think he's probably just got a pastry to face, and well, he can't even draw a Mystic Shot, right? It's not in his factions. Okay, I think we're good. Don't have any portals left. Send him in. Ooh, weird. Oh shit, he was at like 1,000,000 health, wasn't he? I thought we just immediately had the lethal here. Oh my god. That was sloppy. That was sloppy. I would just assume that game was over. Maybe it's not. Well, we should have gone this route, right? We should have behold the infinite. Could have got a big play. Now we gotta hit something choice. All right. I guess the fallen comet works in this space, but we're just dead now, aren't we? Oh my gosh, that was sloppy. That wouldn't have been a good. It wouldn't have been a good. What's it called? Behold the infinite. Right, the cards that popped up there would not have gotten us into a spot for lethal, but still ridiculously sloppy. Can we take here? I guess just want the biggest unit at this point in the winged messenger. Like Esmith is just gonna come down and die. We would ideally be able to. We have to like block the fearsome, and then ideally get the winged messenger in front of the squeaker and survive. The Shadow Tech Walker. That's enough. GG. And so yeah, I'm not certain. Like we would have been one short of getting a lethal if we put the +3/+3 onto our Harazi, but then he also gets to survive the combat. So that's not enough for lethal, but then the Scion comes down afterwards, and we don't have the answer there. It most certainly should have done something. I just completely spaced out and assumed that the game was over, and it most certainly was not. So a little bit of a whoopsies there is what it is. And so, not a bad set of battles. Again, very powerful deck. This is a fantastic ladder climber. It's just so super fast. A lot of the decks incapable of dealing with the non-interactive elements. And if you're climbing up through like Platinum or Diamond or something where there's a lot more kind of off-meta decks, this tends to really tear through those. You need kind of specific game plans to come out and deal with elusives. And if you're trying to do Mimi stuff with Gwen or something along those lines, then you're just going to get smoked by the elusive deck. But I think it most certainly showcases across our games. It's not a deck without a lot of decision making tied into it and a lot of things going in that sense. I mean, managing to play a Sump Monument and still lose against Jinx Kennen and some games like that. We definitely had a lot of decisions to make along the way. And it's not just oops, I win deck, as people like to really lay into these style of decks as. It's just saying there's no decision making, you just put your units on board and attack. It's definitely a little bit deeper than that. But in terms of the remainder of the cards here, the only thing I was really kind of nonplussed about with this was the Darkened Lodestone. I know that we did manage to get the Harazi on board in multiple games, and that is always exceptionally good. It just didn't really flow with a lot of the deck in the sense that we aren't playing that kind of on curve strategy. We aren't playing this style of deck to where you used to see with this, to where you would say play Esmith on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you would Darken Lodestone the Esmith and put Lunari Shadestalker on the board and then get an attack in that way. Like it's just so much built into the power that you get out of Purifying Flames that the Darkened Lodestone just doesn't really fit on theme in a lot of these games. And so it's very odd and interesting there. But nonetheless, very interested to see if this will turn up in Eternal. Elusives will most certainly be there, but this kind of boosting strategy into the attach units as opposed to forges with the weapons has me very interested to see what we can do. And so maybe this will pop up next season. We'll have to see if we can't tinker around with some of these thoughts and maybe get a real deck that way. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.